welcome into Feldco Football Recap Live with the great Tom Waddle, the great Olin Kreutz. He's got his Illini Strong workout shirt on. I'm David Kaplan. Robbie Gould, our special guest, will join us in about 15 minutes or so. OG, Tommy, good evening. How are you gentlemen tonight?
Olin looks like he's ready to play, is what he looks like.
He does.
Until somebody comes after me, and then I'm like, no, thank you. I don't know about you, Tom, but man, like somebody will come towards me nowadays, and I'll flinch and be like, no, I don't. None of that. When I'm at my gym, I'm like, guys, like someone else has to do the leverage drill with this character here.
Unless that someone was me, then I'm in trouble.
Wow, Cap. Me and you, we probably just have a beer there and talk about how great we used to be. You know what I mean?
It.
I don't flinch anymore. I'm too old.
All right, here's our four
Even
seasons.
that might give you a stinger.
Yeah, exactly.
4 seasons, heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electric. Game breakdown for all the right reasons. 4 seasons. Bears get it done. 28-13, almost hitting the score that Olin predicted, Tommy. You and I thought it'd be closer. Yeah. Olin said the Bears would win by at least 10. I didn't get that call to tell me to get to the casino in the morning from the OG, but he was right on the money with that one, Olin. What did you like about the matchup prior to the kickoff?
Oh, there's a lot of things you like. Going into the game, you thought the Bears were playing better football, especially on defense up in Minnesota, and then you knew the way that Justin Fields played against the Lions, right? And that he always think the Bears going into that game, guys, and my math's not great. I think they were averaging 200 yards rushing the last 3 times they played the Lions. And it's just the Lions just can't contain Justin Fields no matter what they do. It's crazy how he breaks out of the pocket and runs, and he plays well against them now. And then you thought, okay, the defense at home is going to be better, right? And they're going to learn from the first game, and Eberflus is a good coach. And then they lost their 2 best players, guys, right down the middle of the field, Frank Ragnow and Olin McNeil. I don't care who you are. It's hard to replace your center, who is an all-pro type performer, and your best D tackle.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily pick the Bears to win this game by 10, but I did think that the Lions were very gettable. And I think if you looked at how they played recently, defensively, they don't get after the quarterback. They had struggled to keep teams out of the end zone. I believe coming into this game, the last 6 outings, they'd given up 28 or 29 points per game. Jared Goff's a good quarterback, but he is much better indoors in a controlled environment. You had him outdoors. Mother Nature did her job, and the Bears defense, which has been getting after people, did their job as well. So I'm not surprised they won this game. And look, I think you look at the Lions, I think you give them credit. I think they're a good football team. I don't think they're a dominant team. And I think if you look across their schedule now, they've got 1 win against a team that's got a winning record, and that was week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I would continue to say I respect them, but they're still a very gettable team for whoever plays them.
So Dan Campbell said after the game, look, we knew their quality. They've got good players. They're trending up. But he said we lost this game because we are exceptionally undisciplined, whether it's penalties, whether he talked about Aiden Hutchinson going inside. He said, you completely lose contain, and we screamed at him all week long. You cannot get sucked inside, and he did. So how do you correct things that you guys played? Your coach screams at you all week. Olin, don't do this. Tommy, don't do that. Bam, you do it. How does that get fixed?
If I did it, I'd get my ass cut because I was an undrafted free agent, and I didn't have a lot of, I didn't have a little leeway. But look, Cap, I think it's a great point. I think Dan Campbell hit the nail on the head. This game felt like a role reversal game where the Bears played like the team that was not a 9-win team that was sitting atop the division. And the Lions played like the less disciplined team that wasn't capable of making plays in big moments. And if you look at the inside the numbers, the Bears committed 4 penalties. The Lions committed 8. The Bears didn't turn the ball over a single time. The Lions turned it over 3 separate times. The 4th and 13 is just a mistake. Like, that is an elementary school football mistake. You cannot jump off sides on 4th and 13. And as Cole Kmet said, their intention wasn't even to snap the ball. But if they could draw one of the Lions defenders offside, then automatically it kicks in. We're going to take a shot downfield. And I think a lot of people were stunned that Hutchinson jumped off sides. And it's just an inexcusable mistake. And I give the Bears all the credit in the world. But if you're a team that's expecting to win a division, get to the postseason and make some noise, like that was an undisciplined team that just felt like, I think they thought they were going to come to Soldier Field, throw their helmet out there and just walk away with a dub.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson, right? Like Cap, you talked about he loses contain. Tom talked about he jumps off sides. Panay Sewell, false start, right? Anzalone, personal foul. I just named 3 of their best players, right? Guys you count on at this time of the year not to make those mistakes. I had a coach tell me one time, once the standard slips, it's gone. And that's what you got to watch if you're the Lions. You get too comfortable winning. And all of a sudden, when it starts showing up and you're playing like this, Cap and Tom, and you guys know this was coming for weeks. And then it's hard to get it back, right? Once you lose it, it's hard to go get it, right? And you saw a team out there like the Chicago Bears hungry for a win. A lot of guys we talked about last week on this podcast, they have a lot to play for in that building. So they've been pushing and pressing each other to play better football. And it showed up. And the Lions looks like they're going the other direction. And you talk about the injuries they had to very key players. The style of football they played. Brisker ends up with 17 tackles. Why? The Lions run the ball downhill. And there's 8 men in the box. And Brisker basically played linebacker this game. He was in the box every play, cover 3, 8-man front, almost every play. So he's down there. That's the kind of game the Lions play. And you don't have your starting center. You don't have your best D tackle. People rave about in Detroit. And you make those mistakes, you're going home with a loss.
It sounds cliche-ish, guys, but, there is a significant difference between being the hunter and the hunted. And I think that the Detroit Lions showed you that they're more comfortable, or they have excelled, being the hunter. Once they become the hunted, it's a different animal. You have to you have to be on top of everything. And they just did not look like, aside from the injuries that Olin pointed out, and those are significant, they just didn't look like the team that, had crossed their T's and dotted their I's. And they came into a building where you have a young team playing with a lot of confidence and a lot of energy, and they got it handed to them.
How did you guys feel Justin Fields played overall? Because I watched the tape. I know Olin did, and I know, Tommy, you came home from work and you sat down and got through it. I saw some stuff on social media from JT O'Sullivan, not that he was the greatest quarterback of all time, but he knows what he's looking at. And
I won't text his stats again, Cap. That's my fault.
Yeah. Olin texts me his stats. I'm like,
don't text him my stats either, Olin.
But Justin wasn't great, man. Like, there were throws that, dude, throw the football. So what did you guys think?
Tom, I thought going to this game we talked about last week that nothing Justin did this week would change my mind on, unless he just played terrible, which he didn't, right? He was a difference maker. Again, like, look at that 3rd and 8. Now, maybe he drops too deep there in the second quarter. They get the ball on the 9-yard line. Big drive by the Bears there. They get 3 points and flip the field back. But he drops back. I mean, I don't know how many tackles he broke back there, and he took off for, I think it was like 17 or a 19-yard gain. That's Justin Fields' game, right? It's going to be, Cap, really good, or it could be really bad, right? And that's what he's been showing us lately. And when you watch him on film, sure, does the ball come out fast enough all the time? No. But then he'll make that play, Tom, and I wonder what you thought about it. I think it was 3rd and 6 in the 3rd or 4th quarter where he hits DJ Moore. The ball comes out fast, man. You're like, gosh, why don't you do that every time? But you can pick apart when you watch him play, Cap. We're getting to the 3rd year. We're late in his 3rd year. You kind of know what kind of player he is, and you're waiting for him to take that next step.
He is such an enormous hassle for the Lions for a lot of the reasons Olin has mentioned. It just sometimes you match up better with some teams than you do other teams. I don't think that he matches up well with, like, let's just say, with the Vikings defense, but against this Lions defense historically, like, he came into this game having 3 straight games where he had rushed for better than 100 yards. He was averaging 128 yards per game on the ground against this Lions group over that stretch of 3 games. They struggle to contain him. I don't know who 55 is for them, but he consistently gets sucked down. Justin gets behind him, gets to the edge, and it's money in the bank. I thought, as usual, Justin was fantastic on off-platform plays. I think the league is still mesmerized by how fast and strong he is evading a pass rush from the pocket. Is he going to sit back there and pick you apart? No, I don't think that's the case. There were a couple of plays I got through the first 2.5 quarters, and there are some things that make your eyes, very, wide open. And then, there's a sail route in his face that Cole Kmet runs, and Detroit blows a coverage, and a guy's trailing Cole on a corner route, and Justin's rolling to his left and can see it. It's right, and he just doesn't pull the trigger on it. And you just ask yourself, like, that's a layup. That's 6. I mean, you throw that 99 times out of 100, and you're probably in meetings asking Justin, what did you see that you didn't like and you didn't want to throw it? And he had time to throw it. So I guess the best way, long story short, guys, is like, there are things that just make you say, wow. And then there are things that make you say, huh? And I think that's just been that's kind of been the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do our Dr. Pepper play and player of the game before we talk to Robbie Gould, and we'll get back into more of this. The Dr. Pepper play of the game for me was the 4th and 13 that Olin talked about. Justin Fields ripping it to DJ Moore on a free play after Aiden Hutchinson jumped offside on a play. The Bears were simply going to run the clock down and punt the football. It turns into the game-winning touchdown. That is our Dr. Pepper play of the game. Olin, that was a really nice job by Justin. And as you just said, why can't he do that all the time?
Yeah, I was talking about, I think it was like 3rd and 6. But on that play, 4th and 13, Tom talked about earlier about they weren't going to snap the ball. And it's on Lucas Patrick.
Yeah.
Once Aiden Hutchinson crosses that line, it's Lucas Patrick's decision whether to snap it or not, right? So he decides to snap it. Now, I think I heard DJ Moore talk about on the radio how if they go through this in practice, if they jump, they snap it, and then it's just an all go.
Yeah.
Right. And just credit to everybody there for executing well. The line has to pop up and block. They probably have an automatic protection on, but Lucas, it's up. And, there's some hard one, guys, as a center, went to snap it or not or catch him in a neutral zone. That wasn't a hard one. Aiden Hutchinson, for whatever reason, 4th and 13, just a lack of concentration, jumps off sides there, right? And he's going to hear about it all week. And I'm sure he admitted it after the game. I didn't get a chance to hear his post-game comments. But good job just by the Bears offense, Cap.
Yeah,
when you flinch. Go ahead, Tommy.
I think they flinch, as you're a defense and you see that happen. You're not expecting them to snap the ball. And once Hutchinson jumps and the ball is snapped, then everyone's like, oh, shit, now what? And DJ Moore, they're well coached. They know what they're supposed to do. Justin executes the play perfectly. DJ gets behind the corner. There's no safety help over the top. And it's really one of the difference-making plays in the game. And I think to circle back, it goes back to the concept of, like, look, the Lions are the best team in this division statistically or by record, but that's a play that a division-leading team that is going into the postseason to make noise, you can't have that mistake on 4th and 13. You just can't.
All right, and our players of the game, I gave co-players of the game. Justin Fields, he did run a touchdown in. He did have that touchdown throw. And Montez Sweat, who Mike Lombardi, you just sound stupider every single day because this guy has been dominant for the Chicago Bears, guys. Dominant.
Doesn't Barstool have fights they do? I think you and Lombardi should grease up, Cap, man.
Like a dog with a bone, Olin. Like a dog with a bone.
I'll be in your corner, Cap, man.
Done. And you know what? I'm in. I'll do it.
Montez Sweat's fun to watch play football, guys, and it is fun with Montez Sweat, Tremaine Edmonds, Billings, and Brisker, and Kyler Gordon, and Jalen Johnson. You look at all these guys on this field. They match up well, Tom, against a lot of teams that they're going to go against. It's funny how many pieces, everybody's asking what kind of difference Montez Sweat made. And when you see when he's off the field, they don't have a pass rush, right? They don't. But he was they had so many pieces, they needed one more. Credit Ryan Poles for going ahead and getting it.
Here's the stats. Here's your stats real quick, guys. In the 5 games since Sweat has been acquired, the Bears defense is allowing 272 yards and 18 points per game. They've had 11 sacks and 11 takeaways. That is an impactful player.
Big time. All right, Dr. Pepper, by the way, grab an ice cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you. Ask Olin, Tommy, and our special guest, Robbie Gould, anything right here on the show. We welcome in. He's now retired. He is the all-time leading scorer for the Bears, 10th all-time leading scorer in the history of the NFL. He announced his retirement last week. Robbie, thank you for joining us on Feldco Football Recap Live. Congratulations on an awesome career, man.
Thank you, fellas. Glad to join you. It's good to see you guys.
Robbie Gould, Madcap.
What up, OG?
Good to see
The
you,
OG
man.
Olin Kreutz.
Unbelievable. You gotta shave, Robbie Gould. What's going on, man?
This is what happens in retirement. You don't have to worry about it anymore.
You don't gotta
brother.
tell me. I don't think I got off the couch for like 5 years, Robbie, after
Yeah, man. Shit, I'm just enjoying it. It's only been a couple days, letting it go.
Hey, guys, I got to play with Robbie, man. 2005, we bring him in, guy off the streets. I think he was working construction or something was his story. But Robbie, man, congratulations on your retirement. I asked around. I said, man, did Robbie not know he was retired? He should have called me. I would have let him know that he was done. But Robbie, I don't think a lot of people know, man. I didn't consider Robbie a kicker, guys. He was a football player. He reminded me of Brad Maynard, Pat Manley, Robbie Gould. They were like a strength of our football team when I was in that locker room. And Robbie, just where did that work ethic come from? I would walk into Poliquin Performance Center, guys, to get my workouts in the offseason. The only guy in there before me was Robbie Gould.
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with, I got lucky. I went to New England first. They were coming off a Super Bowl win, so you got to see kind of the ability of what you're supposed to do in order to win a championship, right? You had Tom Brady, you had Mike Vrabel, you had a lot of guys who went on to do a lot of successful things in that locker room. Then I went to Baltimore with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and Deion Sanders and took from those guys what essentially I ended up learning from you, right? And Roberto Garza and John Tate. No matter what you did Sunday in the game, or if you went out with your family, had a few drinks or whatever, everyone was always in on Monday grinding because that's what it took to win a Super Bowl. And had I not been in those situations with guys like yourself, Olin, and seeing how that was supposed to work and how you're supposed to pave the way for other people, I never wanted to be the guy that was just a kicker. I wanted to be a guy that was in there working just as hard as everybody else. Because I felt like that's how you earned your respect. And truthfully, like if it wasn't for you guys teaching me the ins and outs of how to be a professional, how to study film. Shoot, I remember in the old days, you'd have to be there till 9:30. We'd be in the hot tub or the ice tub, and you're calling your wife, honey, are the kids okay after school, after practice? Because iPads didn't exist back then. You guys were ordering food into Hallis Hall to watch film. And I think it was just the credit of the detail that you and Urlacher and some of the other guys put into what it took to finish an NFL season. And for me, I'll be forever grateful for what you taught me and what those guys in that locker room, because that locker room was really special. And we did some really good things. The only regret is that we didn't finish with a Super Bowl victory. And not only did the team need that and deserve that, but so did the fan base of the Chicago Bears.
Robbie, it was a great run, and congratulations on such a great career. I think I speak for a lot of people. I was expecting to see you kicking in the postseason for somebody. How difficult of a decision was this for you?
It's been an interesting season. I think the reality of what's going on in the market space for kickers is that it's essentially getting younger, and people are now going to what you see as a top-heavy roster, where the best players at each position are kind of getting paid as much dollar amount as they could possibly give them. And then they find role players at other places to kind of push some of the older guys out of the building. We had a lot of offers for league minimum. I still had calls when I retired to go play on people's practice squad and then work my way in just so that they didn't spend as much money if you got hurt going to IR. So ultimately, the decision to retire came down to the last 5 weeks of the season. For me, I didn't see that there was going to be a huge bump in what I needed to do long term to cement my legacy, or to do something different than what I've already done. And frankly, I've been really, as much as the fire to burn and play is still there, I just, I'm really happy with being at home with my kids and coaching their sports. I'm getting to golf a little bit more, which I've enjoyed. And I just started coaching some high school football at Friend High School, which I got into because Lou Sponsel, the head coach, was like, "Hey, do you mind coming to practice and watching?" And I thought that would kind of be my locker room. Little did I know that my last practice kick ever would come at Friend High School, getting ready to go kick for the New York Giants at a tryout. But it was nice to be able to have that resource and fall in love with trying to help these kids, along their journey, just like we were able to do for a while. And Olin, congrats to you and Jason McKee on your guys' run in the state playoffs. It was fun to follow you guys as you went on that run. And I know I relied a lot on Jason McKee to just say, "Hey, why do you do this?" It's not like you get paid a ton of money, but it's really cool to groom young men and see their success to go on and start their journey. Just like guys helped us along our journey. And
fans
crazy
can dial in and have a question for any of these guys. Go ahead, guys.
Like Rayola, I remember working out with Rayola at Poliquin. His son is right now. He's the best quarterback in the country.
He is, yeah, and his brother coached in Nebraska also. We are hearing those rumors. But Robbie, now that you said what you said, I'm going to be watching the playoffs like I'm going to watch a kicker miss and be like, I could have had Robbie Gould. Right, yes. Like that's not a. I don't think you save money on a clutch kicker, to be honest with you. Not in the playoffs. I know what Robbie meant to us that Seattle game on the way to Super Bowl. It's funny, man. Cap, Robbie walked on the field. The game was over. Right, if we needed a winning kick, it was over. We didn't even worry about it.
Yeah, but never missed a postseason kick, field goal or PAT ever. Pretty amazing.
I think what's interesting is it's a new wave of football. Back in the day, you would value those positions knowing in certain places that special teams was going to play a key part in. I give Jerry Angelo and Lovey a lot of credit for, building that roster with Israel Adonijah, Adrian Peterson, Todd Johnson.
Rob, you remember when Izzy used to run on the field on kickoffs?
Kill people. It was lights out. I remember him running down a kickoff. I think it was Klein, Saucer, and him in the wedge just colliding and both of them being knocked out, right? And
that was before the rules, that's why, right? That was 10 yards back. I think it was like 280, 290. Yeah.
And now you're seeing fair catches because they're trying to kind of get rid of that play in football because of injury rates. But, I think what's interesting is when teams who thought that they weren't going to be in the race in the beginning are now in the middle of the race, you're seeing them starting to call these older players. But they don't want to say that, hey, let's forget about the discussions we had in the off season, like we're ready for you now kind of thing. But at the end of the day, they're not going to pay top dollar for an older guy to come in, and they're not going to give them an opportunity to go in and play right away. Guys are getting calls and playing that are in playoff hunts that haven't played in a full year or haven't had that much success to start their career. So when general managers and head coaches are either their job's on the line or they're in the hunt, that's when they start calling and trying to make those decisions. But for me, I was really happy with, the career that I had, and I was really happy with the decision I made. And I'll tell you what, it's a lot less stressful sitting on the couch instead of preparing for a game in Green Bay with 0-degree weather, So a little toastier on the couch. But I still miss it. I miss it.
Tell us how, it's a difficult job enough, but in the elements that you were forced to play in, especially here in Chicago, how difficult was your job at Soldier Field?
Well, what's funny is of the places I've played, Soldier Field was the easiest, only because the wind patterns were always the same the entire game. New York, the wind always would swirl. They have 3 different layers in their stadium based on how it's built and how it moves. It's totally different for a punter than it is a field goal kicker. I would say that the Giants Stadium is probably one of the best punting stadiums there is because it's most likely at your back 9 times out of 10. But then how it blows in the wind is that as a kicker, the wind's always in your face. In San Francisco, I was pumped. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be amazing. It's going to be 75 and sunny. The field's going to be pristine, it was amazing. But then the way that they built the stadium with the 2 open ends and how the wind blows there, a kick in the first quarter that you're going the same way in the third quarter is completely different. And I think what was interesting is when I got there, it took me a little while to get comfortable knowing what the wind did. Whereas like if I went to New York, I was able to kick in the stadium because it was close by. San Francisco, I could do the same thing, but they had concerts and everything else, so you didn't get as much time in there as you might like. But I think the biggest thing when it comes to that is Lovey, and you know this, Olin, better than anything, no matter what the weather was, we were going outside. And he would always say it's fair weather. And I think the mentality of always playing in it and practicing in it almost prepared you for moments like that. Even when you went to San Francisco and you're in Green Bay in the playoffs and it's 0 degrees, it brought back so many memories of what we went through and did at the end of our playoff runs or season that it was almost a comforting feeling playing in those conditions because you've been there.
Are you guys amazed by the distance we're seeing kickers make field goals now? I'm watching the games the other night. 60 yards, bam, 59, bam. Like, holy shit. I don't remember it that way for a long time.
No, I'll let Robbie answer this, but I'm going to say this. I'm not, because I think Robbie's a trailblazer in the way he used to lift weights and the way he started to, a lot of these kickers now, I mean, Robbie would tell you, and I think he may be one of the first ones. And I mean, this guy would train as hard as offensive lineman. And that I think is the biggest thing. Robbie Gould, Pat Manley, Brad Maynard. I mean, the thing I hate about them the most is they made me like guys like them, the kickers and the long snappers. They were great teammates. I mean, they were amazing teammates. And like, no one looked at them as specialists. We looked at them as football players. They were football guys, teammates in the weight room, training hard. Like Robbie said, I mean, you talk to him and Pat Manley, it's like science. So you heard him talk about the wind and, go ahead, Robbie. But in my opinion, that is, I think, what happened.
Well, I think it's like anybody that's on the football field, right? If you go get a guy that can run 4.2, you think you can make him a football player because he's got speed. And if a kicker, you think he's got a leg, no matter how big it is, you always think I can make him accurate. And if you're an offensive-minded football coach in the National Football League now, you're trying to extend your offense and points because of a guy like Justin Tucker, who probably was the original guy of kicking longer field goals like that. You're seeing a guy like Matt Gay doing it now, the kid at Aubrey in Dallas. And I do think that the conditions of the places that these guys play, for the most part, play into that. But I also think it's a matter of how good is your defense. Like, if you have a bad defense, you're not kicking the ball at 58 when it's a 45% chance to make it and giving the team field position there. But I do think that there's a premium right now in the National Football League for leg strength over accuracy. And you're seeing that kind of as the season goes on with these young guys. Yeah, they have great legs, and some of them, Aubrey's story is amazing. The kid's a soccer player from Notre Dame, goes to the USFL, and he hasn't missed a field goal all year long as a rookie. Like, that's pretty incredible. But you have other rookies who have huge legs that are kicking in domes that, are 72% because they are kicking those field goals. So you'll see coaches, if you do that to a young kicker, he's going to lose confidence, and that confidence is going to waver. If you're hitting a 48-yarder down the stretch, he's like, well, I just missed a 58-yarder. Like, that weighs on you just as much as a missed extra point, as weird as that sounds from a confidence perspective. But I do think there's a premium being put on leg strength over accuracy.
Robbie, obviously the time in Chicago was fabulous. Tell us a little bit about your time in San Francisco and how maybe the 49ers are a little different than, Chicago or other places.
Well, what I'll tell you is, Kyle Shanahan's really shaped the way that I think about offense and football and how it all correlates. We always talked about complementary football in Chicago, right? And how they all kind of tie together and how we got to play together. But I think what was unique about Kyle is he put everybody in a meeting room and talk X's and O's and talk to guys about why a certain offensive lineman does something and ask the defense a question, or on special teams, if we punt this and it's a touchback, the difference of scoring from the 20-yard line versus the 8-yard line is significantly different. So I think from just an overall head coaching perspective, I think Kyle has been able to get his team to where they now have continuity and they have the same guys in the system. So now they know who their core is and they can do plug and play. Where I think in Chicago, they're still trying to find that core. They're still trying to build that core. They may have that. They have a lot of free agencies that's going to come up at the end of the year and some decisions to make. And every team ultimately does. But I think from a resource perspective, the San Francisco 49ers, you see them spending a ton of money right now because they're in a win now situation with Brock Purdy being on a rookie contract. And, talk about a kid who went from, Mr. Irrelevant to now being an MVP of the National Football League all in a year. It's, that says a lot to the coaching and development of what they do there for their talent. But I think what was cool about when I got to San Francisco, they're investing a lot of money and resources in recovery, massage therapy, acupuncture, any specialty medicine person they're bringing in on a Tuesday or a Thursday for the players to be able to stay in the building. And the necessity of that is different. Like if you're planning on Tuesday, have an off day and run around to go do all of those appointments, you're potentially missing meals or not eating as much. So now your weight's, being lost. You're not in the ice tub. You're not in the hot tub. You're not getting extra therapy in the weight room or in the training room. And I mean, they're spending millions of dollars to make sure that these guys are running like Ferraris. And, if you invest in that and they're in there on Tuesday, please believe me, they're talking football. They're stopping by their coach's office to talk about what this week's game plan might be, or what does it look like, or what film to watch. They're getting 2 square meals. They're keeping their weight up. They have their energy. As Rusty Jones would say, you got to carve up.
Get your carbs.
Yeah, get your carbs. But I think it's really cool to see how they've structured their facility so that guys can get the maximum effort and potential out of each one of those guys with not only the structure of, they have a performance director, and then under that guy, they talk to the trainer, they talk to the physical therapist, they talk to the guys in the weight room, and they all develop a plan based on catapult systems and number of reps, and they watch the guy's speed and yards that they run, and they tweak their practice reps based on it. So, the science part of it is really developed. I can't really speak to that on the Chicago side. I just know that we used to go and buy our food at Whole Foods in the middle of the day to make sure we were getting good food to eat. Now there's cafeteria.
But the Bears got to be better than that now, right? Please tell me.
What's that?
The Bears got to be better now. They got to be caught up.
Yeah, they're for sure better. But I'm saying like the difference in the league when we first started is I would go work out at Poliquin and go to Whole Foods in Deerfield on my way back while these guys are getting ready to go out to walk through because we didn't have a walkthrough. So I had to come toting 3 bags of Whole Foods in for the guys so we had like really good food, because in the beginning they didn't have a commercial, what I'll call restaurant style kitchen. And then towards the end of my career in Chicago, they built that. They brought in a company, Flick, to build basically what would be a 5-star restaurant for the players. Now, I don't know how good the food is anymore, but we were getting an unbelievable amount of different selections for guys to eat. And then they had nutrition programs now that are literally curtailed to pre-made food for these guys to take home if they wanted to. So like in San Francisco, they get dinner. I don't know if they do that in Chicago. They weren't doing dinner in Chicago when I played there, but it's just small things like that that make the places tick and win, and people want to stay there.
Yep.
And winning cures everything. That's the reality. Like no one's going to sit here and tell you they want to come to Chicago for less if they're losing. They're going to come there for as much money as they possibly can get. And that's just the situation they're in. When they start winning and they have their core together, guys will want to come just like Tom Brady to play with those guys and build that foundation.
Robbie, you're 41 now?
41.
Played 18 years. Played football half your life, man. What an amazing career. Cap mentioned just how clutch you were, and you mentioned you're coaching at Frem. So what does Robbie Gould tell the Frem kicker before he goes out to kick a clutch field goal?
Well, it's funny. So the kid that we got, he came to me on the golf course because he was working at the course I was a member at. And he's like, hey, I think I'm going to go out and kick. I'm a soccer player. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like, let me know if you need any help. So we're getting into the last week of the season, and we're getting ready to play Hoffman Estates, and we go into overtime. And he missed a short field goal. And I remember going up to him. I'm like, dude, you like, just remember, you're going to get another chance at this. He goes, dude, I was so nervous. He's like, I'd never been in that position before. And I wish I would have talked to him before. I kind of like try to stay away from him a little bit. Mm-hmm. But now I just tell the kids, just go have fun. Like the one thing that I would say about my career is you get so ingrained about the daily process and what you have to do, and thinking that whatever you did the previous day or the previous year was never enough, that I didn't really enjoy the ride as much as I would have liked to, right? Because you always worry about where's my next lift? Where's my next therapy appointment? Okay, we got done winning the game. What's Monday? How do I prepare? And for these kids, I'm trying to explain to them, like, it's over before you know it. In 18 years, like, I thought, here I am coming off an NFC championship. I'm sitting in the locker room and I'm like foaming at the mouth to get ready for free agency to go back, thinking like I'm going to be able to go play for a contender and we'll get decent money and we'll go have a good time. And all of those things that my wish list didn't happen. And at the end of the day, I didn't end up playing another game. So my career ended in the Philadelphia locker room. And you just don't know when that's going to happen, whether it's by injury or a team telling you it just doesn't work out or you decide to walk away. So these kids, when they get up and do the 6:30 a.m. runs or they're lifting, it's not to just lift to just get through it. It's lift to lift with a purpose and enjoy being around your teammates. Because at the end of the day, like, that's what I miss. Like, I love being out with my kids and talking with them and hanging out with my wife and all that. But I miss sitting in a locker room and watching Ruben. Are you?
Hey, Robbie, remember this, though. The guy who enjoys the ride doesn't play 18 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. But the thing I miss the most is the dudes. I miss
you do.
You can't replace that.
No.
You can't. And it's fun to be around the high school kids, but like, you can't replace what it's like sitting at a pregame meal and talking to guys, or being in a locker room and watching them prepare, or being on an airplane coming back from a win and listening to you hop on the microphone and the guys singing and having that's the stuff that I will always miss. Is I will miss the fun of what the guys in the locker room do, right? Yeah, I'm not going to miss the lifting and I'll stay in shape, but I'm not going to miss the grind. I'm going to miss the dudes. I'm going to miss the relationships. And that's the thing I guess I would say I've struggled the most with is like, I miss being in a locker room and just having fun. And it's irreplaceable. I don't care where you go. I don't care what you do.
Hey, before we let you go, just give us quickly your thoughts on Justin Fields. Bears are going to have a huge decision. They're going to probably have the number 1 pick. And Caleb Williams, a lot of people believe, is a generational talent. Not sure if he is or not, but if they do all their checks and balances and they go, boy, he's the real deal, what do they do?
Well, I think it's a interesting discussion because you have to ask yourself, did the injury set back whatever you think the maturation process for Justin Fields is going to be? I think you're seeing them be more competitive. I think you're seeing them from top to bottom play more complementary football. I think from evaluation process, you just have to ask yourself, can Justin Fields take us to the next level? And I think you have to look at that from a lot of different angles. Have we put enough people around him for him to be successful from an offensive lineman perspective, from a skills perspective? Did we give him a good enough defense to evaluate? Can he help us to keep the defense off the field? Can we extend drives? And I think it's a decision that's going to be a very difficult one. But I think if you can look at Jordan Love in Green Bay, there's also the opportunity that if they need an extra year, they don't have to necessarily pick up the option. They can also go down the route of trying to get a deal done with him that's more short-term if they need a little bit extra. Because, remember, Ryan Poles said, we're going to see what we have in year 3. So did he put enough pieces around him to be able to evaluate how he can take this team to the next level? And I think that's what they're going to have to talk about internally.
Hey, man, we appreciate you taking some time for us. Congrats on a hell of a career, and maybe the 4 of us can get out and play some golf when it warms up.
Yeah, it was fun hanging out with you guys. It's good seeing you, and thanks for having me on.
Congrats, Robbie.
Thanks, Robbie, man.
Thanks,
congrats.
Appreciate it.
There he is, Robbie Gould from the Chicago Bears. All right, we come back. I want to get into Justin with you guys. We'll take our quick time out. We'll come back. That's Olin Kreutz. That's Tom Waddle. I'm David Kaplan. We'll be right back.
Hey, Dad, we're running low.
We'll be all right.
What is going on here?
Insulation? I'm chilly.
I can't help you with the decoration, but I can help you replace these windows fast.
Right now, buy one window and you'll get one free. Plus, no interest until 2025. And we'll get it done Feldco fast.
Buy one window, get one free, and soon. Hurry. Call now.
Call 866 for Feldco.
Feldco Bears Recap Live is brought to you by Feldco, Chicago's home renewal experts. Call 866-4-FELDCO. 4 Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. For all the right reasons, 4 seasons. Vienna Beef. Go to viennabeef.com and use code CAP23. That's KAP23 at checkout for 15% off your order today. And Dr. Pepper. Grab an ice cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you. Westtown Bakery in Wheeling at the corner of Lake Cook Road and Milwaukee. Enjoy the best brunch Saturday and Sunday mornings.
All right, time for Winging It. Justin Fields numbers brought to you by Westtown Bakery in Wheeling, corner of Lake Cook in Milwaukee, and OK Dispensary. And OG, wait till you see, Tommy, what they sent me for this week. It's usually a good brownie or a cookie, or I drop stuff at Olin's. Wait till you see this. Justin's numbers, 19 of 33, 223 yards through the air for 1 touchdown. That was to DJ Moore. Did not turn the football over and ran for 58. Again, they're at the corner of Lake Cook and Milwaukee. They got an awesome regular bakery, and then they got the dispensary. And look what they sent me. That's a fudge brownie mix with THC in it. It is called the cannabis-infused fudge brownie mix, perfect for the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we could wave goodbye to you for about a week, right?
Yeah. Get ready to cook, Mindy. Yep.
Next week's recap should be interesting.
Yes. I'll be floating back down by that point. So let's talk about Justin Fields, because I say this every week. I don't really know quite what I'm looking at when I watch the tape, but I kind of know what I'm looking at. And I can tell when Cole Kmet's wide open, don't hold the football. Get it to him. When Darnell Mooney is open, please throw the football to him. So you guys watch the tape. What did you think of Justin's performance in the win over Detroit?
I think I saw exactly what I thought I was going to saw against the Detroit Lions, right? He was the same player. He made plays. He hurt them with his legs and made a few throws and put the ball in the end zone. And that's why they're averaging scoring, I think almost 30 points this year versus Detroit Lions. Look, Justin Fields, there's some trends, right? There's 3-4 games in a row that he will play well, that he will look dynamic. I think if you're Ryan Poles, you're waiting. Like that, I don't think the Detroit game, Tom, changed your mind about anything, right? Because remember, he came off being injured, Cap, played good, played against the Vikings. Then they had a bye week. It's usually about the 3rd week. Like last year against Atlanta, he got hurt. You saw him grab his shoulder this week at the end of the first half. I think you got to wait with him. He's got to show you consistency. If I'm him, I am hoping that this game, I have the ball in my hand to win the game versus the number 1 defense on the road in Cleveland. I am hoping for that. Actually, Tom, I am studying all my 2-minute film against Schwartz's group because that's what I want. I want to win the game. I want the game on my shoulders. I want to change the storyline, and then he has to be consistent all the way through their last game.
I agree with Olin, like with regard to how he played against the Lions. He's a matchup nightmare for the Lions. And that's been on full display now for a couple of years. I think if you go back and look at Justin's, stat lines, some of his best games have been against the Lions. There are certain teams that you match up better against, and for whatever reason, you perform at a high level against them. Both touchdowns are off-platform plays. One is a free play on a broken play on 4th and 13, and he makes a good decision. He does what he's coached to do. He throws a strike to DJ Moore. You score a touchdown. The other is Justin being Justin. Drops back in the red zone. There's nobody open, and he gets to the pylon before anybody can get to him. And I'm not sure there's maybe one other quarterback in the league that probably gets to that pylon without a defender getting to him in the manner.
Lamar.
Yeah, that's right. So, he did what Justin normally does against the Lions, and there's some really good things. I sent you a text earlier this morning, Cap, and this is just my own personal approach to this. This is an enormous decision for this organization. It's an enormous decision for Justin. It's a huge decision for this organization as well. And it's a decision. If they had the 15th pick of the draft, we're not having this conversation. You're moving forward with him, and you're trying to build around him and hope that the team develops with him. The issue here is you have the first pick of the draft again for a consecutive year. So when you're trying to make the evaluation, again, from my perspective, there's a lot of nuance and there's a lot of detail to it. And by that, I mean, I would just, and I'm curious how Olin feels about this. Every game counts, but in my evaluation process, I want to get to the top of the mountain. Okay, I don't want to be in the hunt at 5 and 8. Being on somebody's list. I want to be able to step up in the same category with the big boys and fight for an NFC championship. So when I'm evaluating my quarterback and everybody, I want to know how you perform mostly against the upper echelon team. So maybe this is fair, maybe it's unfair. But when I evaluate the quarterback, I got to say it's more meaningful to me to see how he plays against a Brian Flores coordinated defense or a Steve Spagnuolo coordinated defense, or this week, a Jim Schwartz coordinated defense. Like if you go out and play well against the Lions, I'm giving you credit for that. There's no question about it. That's a bottom 5 defense in the league. How are you going to play when you face some of the better defenses in the league? If I've got to make this really important decision where my organization's, the immediate future and maybe long-term futures on the line here, this isn't just a willy-nilly evaluation. So I guess, with that said, I think this game against the Cleveland Browns, for me, to go on the road against a team that's 8-5, that's 6-1 at home, that gives up 13 points per game in their own building, as Olin said, is the number 1 defense overall, the number 1 pass defense. If Justin could go into that building and lead them to victory and be a big reason why they beat this Browns team, that to me says so much more than what he just did against the Lions. And maybe that's unfair. Maybe that's out of whack. But for me, that's just how I look at it. If he goes there in Cleveland and they win a football game because he goes in there and handles the pressure and handles that defense well, that to me is a huge step towards owning this position going forward.
OG?
Cap, I just wanted to say this too before we go off air. I know Dan Campbell talked about Hutchinson losing contain. Ask Dan Campbell why they don't spy Justin Fields at that point for me. If you have time, ask him. I don't know. Just an idea for me. They may want to spy Justin Fields since he's been killing them. Anyway, we won't put it on our D line. But as far as Justin Fields goes, Cap, you can go through his timeline, man. There's just trends you have to see him break, right? Last year he played good. I think it was Miami, and then that's the third game when Atlanta. And all of a sudden, I think it was either Peterman or Simeon were starting. Then they did a bye week. Then he went 3 games, and then someone else ended the year. Right? This year he gets hurt. He has 4 weeks off, plays good, bye week, plays bad, bye week. Now we got Cleveland. There's only 2 games. If I'm the general manager, there's only 2 games I really care about. It's going to be Cleveland and Green Bay, both away, both on the road. There's only 2 I care about against those 2 teams. If we talk about Justin Fields, we're talking about my decision on Justin Fields. I'm telling you right now, when you watch him play like this week, like the Vikings, right? It's not only Forrest. They got that defensive back Murphy who can match up with Moore. The Browns have guys too. They got Newsom from Northwestern. I don't know if Ward is playing. They got Delpit. They can match up and blitz you, right? And now people know that they want to sneak a fake block and sneak Cole Kmet out. That's how you handle cover 0. They try it again this week against the Lions when the Lions went cover 0. We talked about on that 3rd and 8 in the second quarter when the Lions used one of Flores' blitzes. He didn't throw the ball. He didn't beat it with his arm. He broke 2 tackles in the end zone and ran out, right? This week, little different guys coming after you, little different matchup. So we shall see coming up this week against Cleveland. I told you guys, I watched the film last week. I thought the Bears would win. Just from starting this week, I don't think they'll win against Cleveland. I won't give you my score, but I don't. Just start studying. Now, Cleveland doesn't have 2 tackles. They're 2 starting tackles, and they don't have their starting quarterback. But that defense is ferocious.
And Olin, do you buy what I'm selling, that when you're evaluating a player and it's of this magnitude and you have this much at stake going forward, I'm not saying that how you perform against the Washington Commanders, who are dead last in yards per game and points per game, it's not meaningless, but it's more meaningful to see how the young quarterback plays against defenses that are much more challenging than the ones that he has excelled against.
Yeah, I really do, Tom, and I hate to keep saying the word, but if I have the number 1 pick at that quarterback position, I'm looking for a multiplier, right? I'm looking for a guy that even if they take DJ Moore and Cole Kmet and everything away, this guy is the difference, right? This guy can find somebody else and raise the level of my number 3, Tyler Scott, wide receiver, or if EQ St. Brown is playing. We can use somebody else because Justin Fields is going to fit it into them, or he's going to use his legs, make a miss, and go. So we'll see. You're exactly right. You're exactly right that when you're looking for a guy at the quarterback position, that is what you're looking for. And people keep getting confused. They're like, you don't like Justin Fields.
No.
You have to compare it to the number one pick in the draft, guys.
Yes.
Right? We have the number one. It sure looks like it's pretty close that we're having the number one pick in the draft. So, I see this guy, Unknown X. Olin will be proven wrong this week. I hope so, man. I hope so that we're proven wrong this week. No one more than me hopes that Justin Fields has the ball in his hands with 1:30 left. He studied the film. He knows exactly what Schwartz is going to do, and he beats the Cleveland Browns.
And Olin, I could not agree more with you, because what is the best possible scenario for this team? It's that Justin proves to everybody, not just us, but to people that are more important than us, that he is the guy going forward, and he erases all doubts. Because if that's the case, you can use all of your cash and all of your draft currency, and you can use it to build your entire team, and you don't have to focus on replacing the quarterback. So the best possible scenario is that he goes out there and does exactly what you said he needs to do. And I would be the happiest Bears fan on the planet, because it means that we don't have to continue this search for the most important position in all of professional sports.
All right, before we get to our eye on the opponent, Olin asked me to pull this picture. This is Darnell Wright. Let me just read you this before you put the picture up there. I pulled these numbers on Darnell Wright today. And
Cap, get a letter opener thing, man.
I got so many pages. Okay, here we go. Darnell Wright versus the Lions. He was in for 40 pass blocking snaps. He allowed 1 quarterback hit and no sacks. He was outstanding. Yeah. He's getting better and better. Take a look at what Olin asked me to pull. Aiden Hutchinson was his bitch. Yes.
No.
I mean,
listen, on this play,
how it started.
The awesome thing about this play, this is a zone read, and they're going to give it to Foreman, but they blitz the edge. They're really double teaming. Nate Davis and Darnell Wright are double teaming up to the linebacker. I think it's Anzalone. And Darnell Wright notices the blitz and actually slows down, stutters his feet in place, drops his pad level. I think the big man was maybe 2 feet off the ground. Put his backside pad under Hutchinson, stuck with him, picked him up. Hutchinson wasn't even his guy, Cap. He was double teaming the D tackle up to that linebacker you see there, right behind the D tackle. He notices the blitz, stutters his feet, picks it up. Really, man, like you're saying, Cap, we all know he has the physical tools. What I'm saying right here, guys, is he's starting to show you that he can also see the game. When we talk about a quarterback processing information, every position, Tom will tell you, has to process information. And the good players do it. And the great ones do it with a lot of athletic ability. And that's what Darnell Wright is.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Olin, I didn't think that was Nate Davis's best game. And Darnell, in a lot of situations, was kind of on his own doing, the job that he did without a whole lot of help, the guy next to him. Now,
yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point with the eye on the next opponent, because Nate played okay in what everyone knew he was going to be when coming from the Titans. He's a run blocker. So the Detroit Lions put Aiden Hutchinson over him on pass pro. Yeah. He's got to do a little better. Him and Lucas Patrick have to work, because if I'm Schwartz, guess where I'm putting Myles Garrett on passing situations? Right over Nate Davis and right over Lucas Patrick. And you see when Myles Garrett does that basketball pre-snap. I mean, they're going to be in a silent count. They got to stay out of 3rd and long. But yes, in passing situations, Nate Davis did have when Aiden Hutchinson moved inside, he had a tough day.
Yeah. Quickly, before we get to our Vienna eye on the opponent, go to viennabeef.com. This is the 4th and 1 play. Can you guys explain to everybody that the Bears get stuffed? Is Justin supposed to audible out of this? Is this, hey, man, Luke Getsy called it. That's what you got to run. Like, take me through, and everybody through the intelligence part of this.
I don't know that I can. I'll rely on Olin to do that.
I don't know about if there's an intelligent part of this, but they are selling, right? They're selling that quarterback sneak that the Eagles run, and they're hoping you buy it, and they just clog that middle, and then they're going to fake a fullback dive and flip it to DJ Moore, and they're expecting these guys on the outside there to crash in, and you can see that guy didn't. They didn't crash in, and no one really bought it, right? And you can see there's some guys that fake up top there to the right. There's 3 or 4 guys chasing that, and there are some guys playing a quarterback sneak, but not enough of them. I think Getsy just outthought himself here, and that wildcat toss crack in early in the game that scored a touchdown got him going a little bit, and it's like the screen to Mercedes Lewis. Sometimes Getsy just can't help himself.
I think your best option, seriously, there, and I'm no offensive genius. You got a kid in Foreman that runs like an offensive tackle. I mean, he's fast. I'm just saying, size-wise and power-wise, he's an offensive tackle on a running back's body. Just give him the football and let him make do with what you're giving him and get the 1 or 2 yards.
Almost changed the game, right? I mean, that 4th and 13, if we don't hit that, I mean, it almost it was something, man, to watch. The Bears had so much momentum, and then that play happened, and the Lions scored. But anyway, they came back out and took care of the game. But you were worried for a little while.
Yeah.
All right, here is our Vienna eye on the opponent. Again, promo code is CAP23. If you're having a tailgate party, this is a big game for the Bears, man. Everyone at the radio station say, biggest game of the year, biggest game we played in a long time. Okay, then get yourself your Vienna package. Promo code is CAP23 at viennabeef.com. All right, so let's talk about these Browns. Joe Flacco was literally watching football at his mom's house like 3 weeks ago. And the Jets called them. The Browns called them. He picked the Browns. They're 8-5. He's been named the starter the rest of the way. So I'll let you guys chop this up. I know Olin said that he does not like the matchup like he did against Detroit. I don't want to put words in your mouth. What do you guys think about the matchup, their offense against our defense?
Well, I'm with Olin. I don't think it's a great matchup compared to the matchup from last week. Joe Flacco is not going to make anybody, he's not going to make you think he's Tom Brady, but you're really not going to fool him with much. And quite honestly, the 2 games I've seen him play against the Rams and then this past week beating the Jags, I thought he was spinning it pretty well. They've got some talent out there. Their tight end is good. Amari Cooper, if he's healthy, is also a playmaker. And like I said, I mean, Joe Flacco's seen it all. I don't think this Bears defense is worried about playing against this Cleveland Browns offense. I think they'll do a pretty good job keeping them in check. My concern, and if I'm reading Olin's mind, it's probably his as well. My concern is you flip it around, and that Cleveland defense, as I said earlier, giving up 13 points per game in their building. They're a different beast in their building. The Bears may catch a break. Olin, I think you mentioned this as well. They've got a couple of injuries in their secondary, which would definitely help this Bears team. But my concern is how will this Bears offense and their young quarterback handle a defense that's going to give you everything that they got? And Jim Schwartz is going to show you 1,000 different looks and see if he can get Justin off his spot.
Yeah, I know they have they have their 2 starting offensive tackles out. This offensive line, guys, comparable to the Lions when they're healthy. So very strong inside still yet with Batonio, Pochek, and Wyatt Teller versus Andrew Billings and Justin Jones and Tremaine Edmonds and the linebackers. Should be a really good matchup. But Cap, Eberflus, this is kind of I don't know, like an all-star offensive staff, to be honest with you. Bill Callahan is a name every offensive line guy knows. Really, really good at blocking seams. Scott Peters, kind of a trailblazer on a new technique offensive linemen are using now, is his assistant. And then Stump Mitchell, running back coach, Stefanski as the OC head coach. They got a good group. I'm interested in Eberflus versus this coaching staff. They're very good at home. Tom Mitchell, Njoku, mentioned Amari Cooper. Flacco is kind of a wild card, right? I mean, it's like Dobbs. Like, is it real? Is it not? I don't know. So we'll see as we go into this game. But I just want to see the X's and O's match up, Eberflus versus that offensive staff we just talked about. And then this unit on defense, right? Remember the first time Coach Nagy took Justin Fields to Cleveland.
God.
Return. I think I heard some people call it return to the scene of the crime. Wasn't a good game plan. But Schwartz, right? A Fisher guy, Greg Williams guy, right? Greg Williams, old defense coordinator in the NFL, blitz the hell out of you. Blitz you on the first day of camp. He don't care. Blitz you on a plane. Blitz you everywhere. So We will see these guys get up the field. They get after people. They'll overload. They'll play man defense. Exactly what we're talking about. Exactly what you want to see Justin Fields against. I'm excited for Fields, man. I really am this week. I don't know, Cap. I don't know how he'll play, but I'm excited to watch him against this defense. Sorry.
I agree.
We have a question for Olin. I think it was Dan Tana. Yeah. He said, "What's up, guys? Yeah, Olin, why did you shake your hand pre-snap? It's your signature move. I had to ask. Bear down."
I started when someone told me that the defense would look for movement of the ball. Like the DN couldn't see anything but the ball move at the side of his eye. So I thought to myself, if something's always moving, how the hell do they know what's moving and what's not? And to be honest with you, Monty Kiffin, the old Tampa 2 the defense coordinator, he used to go nuts pregame, man. He'd stand over me at center quarterback exchange, screaming at the ref that what I was doing was illegal. And actually, they changed the rule. I forget what year it was. The refs came, they brought a video. They're showing me, and they're saying that your hand has to stay consistent. Because I used to wipe it. And I'd drop it real fast. If they said hut, I'd drop it real fast on a hut. Always trying to pull them off sides, Cap.
And I bet you had a few choice words for Monty as well. What did you say to him?
Now, Monty Kiffin, you remember that coaching staff they had down there in Tampa? Herm Edwards, Monty, Lovey, Rod Marinelli. Then they had Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John. I mean, you knew why those guys are good after a while.
All right. Before we get out of here, again, go to viennabeef.com via code CAP23 for 15% off your order. Olin, give me
me
two
and Tom
keys.
can't get a code?
Yeah.
CAP23, man.
No, I mean, what about Tom? Tom's code, man.
That's okay. Cap 23 works for me. That's okay.
Yeah. So Olin, give me two keys, and Tom, give me a predicted score.
Oh, I'll give you one key, man. You gotta handle the blitz. You gotta handle the blitz well this week. You didn't handle it well in Minnesota. You haven't handled it well all year, and you're gonna have to handle it this week and especially if those cornerbacks are healthy going into this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is a fun game to watch. Again, if you're into evaluating what direction this offense is heading and this young quarterback, this is a step up in class from what you faced last week. It's very similar, like Olin said, I think, to what you're going to see from the Vikings. Look, I'll take Olin's lead. He's good at this. I think this is a tough matchup for them. I would say that Cleveland probably wins this game by a field goal. But I think the Bears, look, they're playing with a lot of enthusiasm. They're playing with a lot of confidence. I think they'll be ready to play. I just think this is a really tough challenge. Won't be shocked if they win, but my money would be on probably a Cleveland victory by a field goal.
Guys, have a wonderful rest of your week.
Cap, before we go, I want to ask you guys this. You guys hear these players talking about Eberflus? They love that guy.
Yes.
Man, they love playing for him. Anyway, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. They do. They absolutely.
You give him credit. I gave him credit last year for those. There was very few times, Olin, I thought, where this team let go of the rope last year in a horrible situation. I thought they played hard. Maybe one of the Detroit games you looked at them and said, hey, maybe you weren't ready to go. But this team consistently plays hard for this crew. There's no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have an awesome week. Olin's your daughter around there?
No, not today.
Not today. All right. Didn't know what she had. Maybe she had cooked up for us today. You guys
go bake your brownies, Cap. Go bake your brownies.
Yep. Not tonight. I got to get up too early. You guys are sleeping when I go to work, but this baby will be this weekend. You guys have a great week. I appreciate you greatly. Take that.
Hey, Dad, we're running low.
We'll be all right.
What is going on here?
Insulation? I'm chilly.
I can't help you with the decoration, but I can help you replace these windows fast.
Right now, buy one window and you'll get one free. Plus, no interest until 2025. And we'll get it done Feldco fast.
Buy one window, get one free, and soon. Hurry. Call now.
Call 866 for Feldco.
Feldco Bears Recap Live is brought to you by Feldco, Chicago's home renewal experts. Call 866-4FELDCO. 4 Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. For all the right reasons, 4 Seasons. Vienna Beef. Go to viennabeef.com and use code CAP23. That's KAP23 at checkout for 15% off your order today. And Dr. Pepper. Grab an ice cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you. West Town Bakery in Wheeling at the corner of Lake Cook Road and Milwaukee. Enjoy the best brunch Saturday and Sunday mornings.